Good morning.
The International Animation Conference in Tbilisi, Anima Tbilisi. Glad to see you all. And so we start now our first workshop, masterclass, I would say, with Rosangela de Araujo. Is it correct? Great. Rosangela is a very talented animation film director and professor at Potsdam University, Potsdam Babelsberg, and now in Köln, in media, yes, for the next year. So we're friends quite a long time. We know each other and we follow each other's work, and I appreciate very much that you could join us in this heavy COVID pandemic times, and thank you for being here. So stage is yours.
Thanks a lot. It's lovely being here. Thanks for being here, all of you. So this is a conference on animation, so I thought I should start with a live-action film. So let's see, it's just the last sequence from a French film. That was your surprise. François Truffaut from 1959, The 400 Blows. The last sequence. Maybe you all know this iconic film. If you don't, I suggest you watch it. Anyway, I'll just put it now. So if you don't know this film, this is the character Antoine Donnel, and François Truffaut did a series of films following his life, so fictitious life. And this is the very first film he did with him, and he's now running from a young offenders institution. Is the last sequence where his own parents put him in, and he's running towards the beach. And before in the film we hear many times that he says that he wanted to see the beach, so he finally manages that to get to the beach just after leaving and running from this institution. So let's have a look. I think the films of François Truffaut interest us as filmmakers. It's a source of many important aspects of filmmaking. But in this case today, I think for us, one aspect is how he uses time and how he uses the perception of time. So here we have almost like in real time, we follow this character until he finally reaches the beach. And the sequence is even longer in his way since he leaves the institution until he gets to the beach. And then afterwards he finishes with a still picture, which gives us time also to look exactly in the eyes of this character and wonder what he's feeling now that he was allowed, or he managed to escape this situation, but where is he going? Because he came to a dead end. He cannot run faster, further than this. No? So he turns back and looks at us in our eyes. No? But the aspect that I brought this film today is for us to think about the connection between animation and live action, no? And actually to think about the question if live action wouldn't be actually animation. Because this is an illusion. He was not running. Yeah, because, do you agree with me? Was he running? He was. Let me know why. Because he was running, right? But actually, it was pictures of him running. We are watching pictures of him running. So when we are watching a film, we are not watching him running, actually. We are watching still pictures of him running. And this is the great thing about this for us as animators. And in this last scene, we think we are watching one picture of him watching us, but we are watching at least 200 pictures of him looking at us that are copies of a copy of a copy. And I think this might seem very obvious, but it's a source of a lot of investigations for us. And this is what I would like to be exposed today. And so let's have a look at another film who uses just like still photographs. It brings still photographs, but of same motifs, and then animate them. Okay, so let's have a look. That's the opposite of this. So you see what I mean, right? Of course, we all know that as animators, but sometimes we don't think about the potential this brings. No? And I think especially this scene where they are walking, it's a good counterpoint to what we saw in François Truffaut running sequence, right? And for us as animators, this is an area of investigation. And what's the potential of one single frame. No? And now I wanted to show you exactly opposite approach to this. But before I want to show a little graph I prepared. Moment. So sometimes we think of things as opposites, right? It's either animation or it is live action. And I think it helps a lot to think of them in a spectrum. It's from animation to live action. And we can, depending on what we want to say, use aspects of these two arts. No? But especially, I would propose this kind of thought. It's not the images spectrum, is the animation spectrum. And on one side, we have created images. On the other side, we have images taken from life. So what I'm proposing is to say that François Truffaut was making an animation. And if we think of the origins of film, that actually came out of animation. No? And so to show you in this animation spectrum, how can you do when you create every single frame of a film, and every single frame is a different frame. This was an experiment of Robert Preyer, American artist that lived in France also actually for a long time. And he experimented a lot with animation. And I'm going to show you a very short film of his, Recreation. So have a look, and he's like on this left extreme.
Une surface grise brouillée parsemée de plaques taches noires s'étend indéfiniment en tous sens et précisément à 5 cm au-dessus d'elle qu'aura lieu cette récréation. Surgit brusquement d'un point de lumière verdâtre le mystérieux objet qu'entendant ainsi soit ce convolution extrasensorielle puis s'en va se carrer pour les petits lits blancs. Inimitablement circonstanciel, une grisaille opaque et un tangage à billes. Cette structure noire n'est pas assurée malgré les apparences qui résultent de la convergence fortuite d'une vitesse oscillation se dédoublant réciproquement et non pas de la simple félicité sous-lunaire comme on pourrait le croire. Ces choses apparentes ne sont pas non plus carrées étant très légèrement incurvées vers le haut et vers le bas plein de sève populaire. Mais le passage fulgurant d'une agglomération compacte car inoxydable n'est guère fait de nous ébahir car il laisse à peine de traces. Et le monde septuagénaire sourit sans fin.
So, anyone have any questions or comments on what we just saw? Or would you share with us what remained from this film, if any picture at all or any thoughts? So why do you think it's fantastic? What from it touched you?
The style, the selection of pictures, the rhythm of the poetry, it touches all of the coherence, and it works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the function of art, to inspire us, no? And of course art cannot reach everyone. Maybe not everyone will agree with her. But I definitely agree 100%. And for us, yes, you have something. Yes, please.
To me, it was like the feeling of, like some outcasts or leftover parts, and maybe some trash that from film stock that usually you don't pay attention, rearranged by the artist and presented in a sort of expressionistic film.
You see, so that's also what art does to us, because it's so open that we can get a lot of meaning from it, and our connection to it Now, in the case, I think his own challenge, and I think that's what's very interesting for us, is to have a question. I think a question is worth 1,000 answers. A question that brings us in a new path, would bring us into research something that's important for us, and a question that arouses for the contact with an art piece or the nature or whatever. And I think in his work here for us is interesting also a little bit what François Truffaut does. This contrapoint of having something in real time and something in a still picture. He's doing the same. He's doing his question was, what happens if every single frame is a totally different frame? What happens? And at that time, of course, he could not look in the computer what's going to come out. No? He's doing that very intuitively under the camera, just making under the camera, okay, I put a red piece of paper, I'm going to cut it and see what happens, and I'm going to put, and then he puts this little toy that is making a drawing, a painting, and we are watching that real time. So exactly because the contrast is so big, we can really feel each one of these pieces. No? The real time gets stronger because the other things were so loaded with different images. No? So this is what this works opens to us as possibilities, actually, to explore. That's what I think it's interesting. And another thing that's interesting for us to think about when using photographs in film or still pictures is the aspect, of course, of time, what we've been talking about, but very much also of rhythm. No? Because as animators, it's our concern and our struggle or our fun to get a rhythm that is convincing, that brings life to what we are animating, right? So in the film we saw before, the still New York City, NYC, it is when the characters are walking, he's really putting rhythm into it. Really looks like they're walking. And it's fun to just go into the film and see who are these characters, no? And think about the meanings too, because if you have all these people in New York, they're totally different. A businessman, a guy coming from maybe a party dressed as Batman, or maybe he was working. We don't know. Now it brings a lot of characters there, but they all are one person in a hurry in a big, busy city. What unites them and what makes them individuals. So there is a lot of meaning there. If you just do that, you're seeing a lot of things on top of it that we can think about. No? And this aspect of rhythm is then very important for us. It's not what he did in New York City, what he did in the other two things. He did like almost the same amount of frames for each brownstone or the cable cars. Just in the end, he allows the cable cars to go away. So he animates this ending. So it's also different kinds of perception that we can work with. And everything we do has a meaning. So what does this mean if I put everything in the same rhythm, with same amount of make a pulse or something? And what does it mean if they are walking as they were one person walking in the same rhythm in a busy city? Okay.
It requires an extreme dedication. The second film, just to find, you have to wait a lot to find those. The Batman casually walking in New York City.
I think he probably had like a blast of happiness when he saw this Batman on the street. And he hid it in the film somehow. We have to find him. Now we don't notice it maybe, but subliminally we kind of perceive it, right?
All taxi cars were completely not the same cars, but the same models. So he had to wait a lot to find those cars and put together.
Exactly, exactly. But it's a lot of patience, but the first lesson of an animator is patience, the second is patience, and the third is also patience, right? But I suppose it's also fun. I had the very big fortune and pleasure and blessing of having studied with Jules Engel, who's an iconic animator and filmmaker and artist in CalArts in Los Angeles. And he used to tell us some phrases over and over again. One of them is, animation is fun. And the other one was, it comes from your guts. So if you're doing something, you're really having fun, and you're feeling it makes sense, although you cannot explain it, you're on the right track. And I believe you yesterday making your pictures of the windows, you're having fun, right? And sometimes we don't even know why we're doing it. We just know, wow, I know I have to take pictures now of these windows. It's so much fun. And maybe 2 years later, you're gonna know why you did that, right? Okay, so I'm gonna show you now a short section of Historia Naturae von Jan Svankmajer, where he makes many techniques, but especially still pictures. And I think in this film what's interesting for us is how he manages to put so much life and meaning in these still pictures, and all the possibilities he shows to us what we can do with still pictures. Yeah, okay, so I'll just show you a short part. So any comments on this one? Do you know this film? Some. So yeah, it's also another film. If you don't know it, please have a look at it. It is a wonderful film of this wonderful master. Svankmajer is really a source of much inspiration, and every time I use this film a lot in my lessons. I've been teaching for many years, and I always find something new whenever I see it. And it's wonderful, the discussion, because every one of us sees something different because of our own life and interest and stuff. So it's endless. But there you saw how he's able to use still pictures and put so much life into it, and the rhythm. And so he shows us some possibilities there too. And in the same way as Truffaut, he uses still pictures and live action. And in his case, there's also a meaning. When we saw this insect moving with life, and then we see how he's a piece of a collection, we think about also the one person that killed this animal and put it there. And when he puts always, every section ends with this man eating this piece of meat. So he's reminding us of our position in this chain and what we do with it. So he's saying so much without really saying so clearly he's saying it. No? Okay. I have some experiments of mine that I would like to share with you to close it. If there's any questions for what we saw now or before, or any comments. Okay, so let's go for it. So this is a film called Love Storm, and it's about my encounter. I went to a Pollock exhibition in Berlin, and I loved it. But the piece that impressed me the most was from Lee Krasner, Another Storm, which was just opposite to Pollock's mural. And it really took me like in the heart. And I started to taking pictures of this big picture. And I didn't, exactly that, I didn't know why, but I knew I had to. And then I animated them. There has no sound. And it was a bit how I felt of what she felt. That was my thing. But of course, each person takes what they take from it. I'll show. Okay, later I just made this film, and then later I started to research a little bit on her, and I found out that in the year she painted this, she had a stroke. And my interpretation of her work, or the way I felt, it was like someone trying to escape a situation and being very emotional. When I felt like this, I don't know if it is true, but I felt being very emotional, very passionate by doing this, but also being in a difficult situation. And it's interesting, the title, because Another Storm is what, I mean, she was married to Pollock, and he was alcoholic. And she used to have a discussion, I don't know how this went, but concerns about it. And he would always say, this is just another storm. You know, so I think she was commenting on this situation where you cannot escape. I mean, you are there, and what can you do? It's another storm. And then I believe she worked this feeling through this painting. No? And maybe you don't notice, but there is a heart upside down, and there is what I found is like a little crown. So it's like these two aspects of love, no? The shadow and the light a little bit, but everything tinted by this feeling and this situation. No? Okay, so show you something else. So everything is just pictures, just photographs, what I'm showing to you now. Show you another, it's just a little teaser from Work in Progress. It's also just photographs. Let's see what you think. photographs. So do you have a clue of what I'm doing there? What photos are these? What is the object I'm photographing? What?
In the beginning, I thought it was painting.
Painting. But it's not.
I thought that it's water reflections, exactly where there is light and shadows, and then they are more contrasted, so you create this, with the sound, of course, that feeling of
Water. Of course, the sound works, helps a lot. No? The perception, it kind of manipulates the perception. No? But that's not it.
it's not water.
Anyone else?
Clay?
Clay? No, but it's all possibilities, you see?
Yeah.
Anything else? Excuse me?
Stone?
No, it's, I'll just tell you. I was taking a bath, and I look at my window, and in the bottom I see that looks like waves.
From the steam and
No, it's just like, you know, like what, looking, it's like the bottom of the window has something black, and then there's the window pane. Let's see if I can, without sound. So I see this here, this thing here, and see this is the glass, because the glass has some structure. And then I started to photograph this window all over the year, because outside there are trees, and there's the sky, and there are the buildings. So depending on the light and the time of the year, it's gonna give me different kinds of, here's some clouds in the sky, you know? And this is because the window, the building is painted in yellow. So depending on my angle, I get this yellow paint. No? And yeah, and then I started to photograph this with this black, and a little bit of green is there too. It's from the trees outside.
oh wow. I would never guess. No.
And yeah, and then there is a yellow, like a golden sunset, you know, here, and yeah, and then here. Yeah, and then these are just different times of the year, and you know, so.
Here I see that it's a window.
Yes, and this looks really like painting. That's something else I realized, that sometimes it looks like engraving, and sometimes like a painting.
I love that.
Thank
You
you.
should make a photo exhibition. Really, I love it.
Yeah, actually thinking about it in the context of an art exhibition with the film and the photographs. So we'll see how this develops. Okay, so the last piece, we have like 7 minutes. I'll just show you. Is, wait a minute. So this is a film called Natural Stream. It just was done this year. I'm not allowed to show the whole film because it's, you know, trying to get in festivals and stuff. But it's done with photographs from Gabriela Torres Ruiz, a photographer from Mexico that lives in Berlin. And it's her concept of showing the whole creation since the cosmos. Maybe I'll show you just the start of it, and then the little piece in the end. And it's all done with still photographs. And we worked together. I took her her pictures and put them together into this concept of different sections, from the cosmos starting until the man comes into the picture, and there we stop. No? It's also a comment on nature and how in nature the patterns repeat, and there is this intelligence of nature and this connection of everything. And well, I have just showed to you. Unfortunately, the computer is not dealing with it so well. It's a bit big file. I'm gonna just show a little part in the end. So here we come from Cosmos. The first pictures are from NASA, and from the clouds, everything is from Gabriela. And of course, she's not an animator, so I took the pictures she took without thinking of animating. I brought them together in a way that I could get this flow into the film, right? Which was also what we wanted, this flow in nature. So me being an animator was really helpful in this case. Okay, I'll stop with that. So, yeah, okay, so this was also all done with photographs. I think we can see that there are photographs in this case. And yeah, me being an animator helped me to connect them and make this flow. And there is a lot that I took from Zvankmaya in what I did here in this film. So thanks a lot for being here, and I hope you can take something from it. And yeah, I think that was it. The great thing about teaching is how much we learn.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Sure.
So I was looking at the last two films you showed us. Sound plays a really big role in how we perceive what the film is about. No, it's just a small question. I wanted to ask why the first film has no sound. Was it like a directorial decision for you?
Yes.
Because I felt like you made a point with the second film that the water emotion that it evokes, its sound plays a big role. So was it like a directorial decision, or
Yes.
is there something there that omitting the sound just was a decision for you?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, sure. My experience of looking at that painting was, of course, very silent. And I didn't want to influence even more than I did by editing or making this rhythm of what I felt. So I wanted to leave it quiet. No, I already did a lot of this nervous kind of images sequence, no? Of this woman trying to escape this thing, the situation, escape this. And then even there is a bird that I found that he goes always like this, and in the end he manages to go out and he opened the, but of course, if maybe you don't notice this, but for me it was a very conscious thing. But the sound, no. And Breakable Water, it's more like I want to give this illusion that this is really water, and says it's breakable, because in the end I want to show it as a window, a simple window, but just in the end. So I want to induce people to think there and then to not know what they're watching. Yes. So that's, thanks for the question, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
There is one, maybe you know it, there is one brilliant, very short example of American filmmaker. It's called Bird Shit. And he takes photographs of bird shit. And at the end, in that animation, there is a bird flying. It's really nice. I'll send you, I think it's on Vimeo.
So you